Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I'm so happy to be with you again today as we consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I am talking about harnessing your circle of influence for anxiety relief, and this is part 2. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to part 1 yet, I would go back and listen to that first before you got into what we're talking about here today. But generally speaking, what I'm talking about is the 2 circles of your life, and with you with a little dot on the middle of a piece of paper. That's you right there in the middle. And you have the first circle around you. That would be your circle of influence. Everything that's within that circle close to you on that dot of paper is the things in your life that you can control. And then we have the outer circle, the circle of concern. And this would be all of the things that go on in and around our lives that we cannot control. That is called our circle of concern. And so again, if you hadn't listened to the first part, that would be great for you to listen to first. And I want today to help you apply the circle of influence concept into your daily life. First up, I want to talk about social anxiety and how that might work. If you are anxious about attending social events, worrying about how others perceive you, you can begin to find a way to shift that so that your circle of influence is working for you, and that is where you are putting your energy by focusing on preparing for an event. That is something that you can control. You can decide what you're going to wear, how you're going to put your hair, how you're getting there, how you might want to have a conversation with particular people, and how you can remain calm as you prepare to go to this social event, and how you can remind yourself to stay relaxed during the social event. You can try to reframe your thoughts like, what if people don't like me? What if they don't like what I'm wearing? What if, right? You can then kind of bring that back into your circle of influence by saying, I can control how I interact and engage positively. I have control on how I interact and engage, and I can do it positively. It's when we think that we cannot do that. And is it going to be perfect off the bat? No. You're going to have to practice this and do it. And eventually we get a little bit better. And you can also start it by setting small and manageable goals, such as talking to a new person, one new person, rather than focusing on the whole outcome of a very busy event with all these different people there. You can just give yourself the goal to talk to one new person. And then you can actually feel good once you've done that. You did it. Yay. Yay you, right? Yes, you can harness your circle of influence. You do have control over how you are setting yourself up to go out in this social setting. What about work? What if that's where your stress is coming up and your anxiety is rising? You're stressed out about a project at work or the potential reactions of your colleagues or your boss, right? That can happen, especially if you have to give a big presentation in front of everybody. What can you do? You do have control over how you prepare. You can guide yourself to focus on your preparation, your research, your organization, and your time management. Those are things you can control. You can encourage yourself to remember to have open communication with your team or your boss to clarify what's expected. Then you can know what is happening and feel in control rather than worrying about unknown reactions. Be prepared, right? And you can begin to think about, if you can't control the reactions of others, which you can control the quality of your work and the effort that you put in. So focus there. That is where you have influence and control over what you put in, not what their reactions are. Because if you put in great work and they still don't like it, that just says there's maybe a mismatch there somewhere. You don't have to feel bad about you because you did your quality work. You did the best you could. And we don't want to worry about that ahead of time. We want to remember that what's important is that you do what you can, not spend all of your energy worrying about what they're going to think. You have no control over that, right? Now, another place where people have a lot of energy going into their health concerns. This is serious. We all have things with these bodies that get older every day that come up. You could be anxious about potential health issues, constantly worrying about getting sick or what is this new symptom or sensation that I have. So instead, you might want to try to focus on what you can control. And what's that? Maintaining a healthy diet, exercising, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water. These are actually very basic things. But like I said in the episode earlier, in part 1, we spend too much time on the outer ring, our circle of concern, and then we have no energy for our circle of influence, where we could be changing our diet, we could be exercising, but we're too tired because we wasted all our energy on things we have no control over. Now, another thing with having health concerns is you can learn to pay more attention to mindfulness and relaxation. Mindfulness techniques reduce stress and anxiety, and that is something that you can control. You can control how much time you are meditating, how much time you are spending in doing body scans to release the pent-up and building stress. Also, you can begin to limit your exposure to health-related news or social media that might trigger unnecessary anxiety. You could also keep yourself off of Google that can take you down all kinds of wormholes of horror with your health. You can limit that. Get what you need and get out. Don't go down the wormhole with it. Limit your exposure. Now, next up, you might be wanting to know how you can use some strategies, right? And I thought visualizing your circle of influence could be helpful for you. Actually take a piece of paper and do, like I said, to put the little dot in the middle with the 2 concentric circles and label them. Your circle of influence is on the inside close to your little dot that's called you. And then the outer circle is called your circle of concern. Yes, there are things you care about and things you may be concerned about, but you do not have influence over them. And write down your specific worries or stressors and put them in the appropriate circles. This can be so helpful, actually, to write it down and go back and look at it again, right? And then when you see them down there on the paper, I want you to brainstorm and write out some ideas that can take you from your circle of concern back into your circle of influence. Writing those down on the side can be helpful because you have an actual visual representation to help you clearly see where you are controlling things and can control things, and where you are just concerned about things and spending maybe unnecessary energy, a lot of unnecessary energy. Seeing it can really be helpful. Often we can visualize it in our head. I know you can see those circles right now, but when you put it on paper and start writing things down, and that's why the memes are fine. Like they list all the things, but I want you to list what is important in your life, the things that are tripping you up. Now, I thought we might touch on relationship tension also, because this could be where you have a strained relationship, maybe with a family member, a spouse, a friend, worrying about potential conflicts or misunderstandings, right? Because, we would be concerned about that, right? So focus on the communication. Focus on how you can be clear, calm, and kind, rather than trying to control what the other person's reaction is going to be. This is where we get pushed way out into the future, right? Worrying about what the other person, how they are going to react. Instead, spend your energy and focus on being clear, calm, and kind, and move in that direction. And you can also, in the same area of relationship issues, set boundaries. You can identify and set some healthy boundaries. These are things you can control, and you can use these boundaries to protect your own mental well-being. You can also practice empathy. Practicing empathy is understanding that you can't control how others feel, but you can control how you respond. So it's going to come up with communication. You can't control how another person is going to take anything that you say or how they're going to feel, but you can control how you respond to them. And that's going to take us back to being clear, calm, and kind. And then you let go. You do the best you can, and then you let go of the outcome, because that is not yours to control. We can also do some things around mindful decision making. So let's say you're faced with a decision, and I want you to pause and consider whether this decision falls within your circle of influence or your circle of concern. This is going to be so helpful to get clarity on this. And if it's within your circle of influence, you can make a mindful decision based on your values and the things that you can control. And if it's within your circle of concern, you can let go of the worry and focus on what actions you can take within your circle of influence. This really, really, really helps you to make more deliberate and less anxiety-driven decisions. Now, another place where struggles and fears come up, and then anxiety following right behind it, is financial stress. If you're worried about your financial future, feeling overwhelmed by maybe potential economic downturns or job insecurity, do what you can. Again, look at those circles. You could create a budget and a savings plan, and that would be focusing on what you can control and your new financial habits. You could invest in developing new skills or updating your resume. Again, this helps you to increase your job security by developing the skills and being prepared. You want to let go of economic factors. You want to accept that you cannot control the larger economic trends, but you can control your responses to potential changes, and you can be prepared. Often we look back and say, geez, I wish I would have done X, Y, Z. Well, think about that now. Think about your circle of influence versus your circle of concern. The concern being, what if there is a job insecurity? What if my position is eliminated, or there's a big change in the economy. I mean, this is always possible, right? So we might as well stop spending all our time worrying about things we cannot control and use that same energy to take care of the things that will set us up for a better future. And finally, here, I want to tell you about scheduling some worry time. Now, you've heard me talk about this before, but I really suggest that you set aside some time each day if you are a worrier, if you are really stuck in that ruminating thinking, to maybe you set up 15 minutes at 6 o'clock or at 8 o'clock, whatever time you have some free space in your day. 15 minutes, you set it up in your calendar to focus on your worries. And you can spend that time writing down your worries and decide right then and there whether they fall within your circle of influence or your circle of concern. And when the time is up, I want you to consciously set aside your worries and focus on actionable steps within your circle of influence. This strategy prevents you from worrying and having that worry dominating your entire day or night in your dreams. Like, let me tell you, it can come up day or night. And this will allow you to manage your anxiety more effectively. I hope this has been helpful for you, these last couple of episodes, because it really helps us to get clarity. We can identify and categorize what's happening. And maybe you would want to check in daily with your sheet of paper that has your 2 circles on it. Check in, morning or night, pick a time. Maybe you want to do this with your journal writing. And see if you can reframe some of the negative things and see if you can reframe them by putting them into the right circle. And practice letting go after you have done that. You write down your worries or your concerns, and the ones that are outside of your control, I want you to give yourself the permission to let go of the worries that are outside of your control. We think we have to hold on to them like we have some responsibility to take care of things that aren't ours to take care of. Once you get clear on that, you really can feel free. I hope that these exercises and points that we talked about here today offer you a way to begin to stay within your circle of influence, because it really will reduce the incredible stress that comes along in our regular days, the strain and the anxiety that follows. You have the power of choice, and your personal responsibility is central to your circle of influence. Be kind to yourself as you work your way to spending more and more time in your circle of influence as you let go of all of the things that are in your circle of concern. Let me know how you're doing with this. I would love to hear how it is going for you if you are working on your circle of influence and your circle of concern. Let me know. anxietycoachespodcast@gmail.com. And now for today's quote. I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions. And that's from Stephen Covey. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.